It's been a couple of weeks. Sorry, I was gone for Thanksgiving, but now I'm back with more Umineko. Thank you for your patience. I've been really wanting to get back on this too. And we are back, and George is here commenting on the rain. The typhoon has come in. Nobody's getting off the island, but there's all this mysterious stuff going on with the witch. People are going to try to go in after the gold. This is a powder keg getting ready to explode any moment now. So, hello, Goal. We're about to see murder mystery family drama explode, and witches and gold are involved. So, oh yeah, I think if I remember correctly, when we stopped, it's kind of like the kids having conversations with their parents, right? So, like Battler and QDA were just having a big, interesting conversation. So if I'm guessing right, I think George is going to be talking with his parents. So let's see. George, it looks like the weather will be like this all day tomorrow after all.
Yare. Oh,
I was wrong. I guess, the cousins are kind of going back home, I guess. Or, wait, no, they're all still inside the mansion, right? They'd have to go out into the rain to go back. Damn. It's hard to believe it was dry out earlier. George, Aniki, and I were killing time in front of the parlor television. At that point, Jessica returns. So yeah, they're still in the mansion. And the kids are just all hanging out, except Maria, who's having a real bad time. Maria's having a horrible night. Her face was still blank, but it looked like she had calmed down a little since she had left. Is Maria still in front of the portrait?
Yeah.
Nope. Oh, thank goodness. Alright, she's taking a nap. Well deserved. Nope. She just came back and she's sleeping over there on the sofa. It is getting pretty late for her. Looking at the clock, it was a little past 10 p.m. Even if we were going to stay up all night, it was about time to head back to our room. Oh, right, they all got... Yeah. They all got rooms prepared for them in the mansion. My mom did prepare a room for us in the mansion, but... What do you want to do? Out in the rain, George? I think I'd rather head back to the guest house. Okay, yes, they'd rather face hurricane force winds than the bad, absolutely sickening vibes their parents are giving off. It's always so good when people split up in a spooky mansion. I know, right? Bedwards? Like, George, don't you know you're in a game? I think I'd rather head back to the guest house. Judging by our parents' appearance, I think it would be better if we weren't in the mansion. Second that. Battler! Battler, get some genre awareness. Feels like they're telling us kids to mind our own business and stay out of their way. Let's do that, like good little boys and girls. After we discussed that, Auntie Rosa came into the parlor. She was looking all over restlessly, probably trying to find Maria. Auntie Rosa, if you're looking for Maria, she's over there on the sofa. Thank you. My, she's out cold. We must move her to a bed. Yeah, she had a terrible night. No thanks to you. No wonder she's crashed. If you would like me to, I can carry her to a bed.
助かるわ。
Thank you. That would be wonderful.
ジョージ君たちはゲストハウスに戻るの？
Will all of you return to the guest house?
それとも夏日姉さんが用意してくれた部屋に泊まるのかしら？
Or will you stay in the room Natsuhine-san had prepared?
今話し合ってました。
We were just talking about that.
ゲストハウスへ戻ろうかって話になったところです。
We decided to head over to the guest house.
そう。
Really?
ならマリアも一緒にしてあげてもいいかしら？
Out in the rain again? Well, I guess they got that umbrella, that mysterious umbrella from Beatrice. Maybe a magical umbrella from a witch can fend off hurricane force winds. Then I wonder if you wouldn't mind taking Maria with
いと
you.
このみんなと一緒の方がきっと安心できると思うしね。
I think it will be much more comforting for her if she's with all her cousins. It seemed that in the shadow behind those words, there was some regret that the adults, herself included, had deeply hurt Maria's feelings.
任してくださいよおばさん。
Leave it to us, Auntie.
何しろこっちにゃマリアをあやすことに関してはエキスパートがいるっすからね。
After all, we do have an expert at comforting Maria with us.
それは僕のことかい？
Are you talking about me?
僕だけじゃ無理だよ。
I couldn't do it by myself.
みんなでだよ。
We'll need everyone together.
そうだぜ。
That's
バ
right.
トラだってあんなにもマリアと意気投合してふざけ合ってたじゃねえかよ。
Battler, weren't you the one who hit it off with Maria when you were messing around earlier? As we said this, Auntie Rosa smiled, looking truly happy.
みんなありがとう。
Thank you, everyone.
私たちの話し合いはだいぶ遅くまでかかりそう。
It looks like our meeting will last until very late.
だから申し訳ないけどマリアをみんなにお願いするわ。
So, I'm sorry for the burden, but I'll have to leave Maria in your hands.
おーいマリア熟睡か？
Hey, Maria, are you
ゲ
awake?
ストハウスに戻るぞ。
We're going back to the guest house. Maria muttered something indistinct as if answering, but then rolled over and fell back asleep. It looked like she was sleeping deeply.
すっかり寝込んじゃったようだぜ。
She's really out cold.
起こすのは悪いな。
It'd be bad to wake her.
僕が背負うよ。
Why does that sprite of George look so scary? Stop doing that. Right, I'll carry her. Maria's body was much lighter than it looked. George Aniki picked her up and pulled her over his back. Hopefully you're gonna put an umbrella over her. It was raining hard outside, and Aniki couldn't hold an umbrella and carry Maria at the same time. Okay, that's fair. So yeah, he's just gonna kind of piggyback and then have the umbrella over. Okay. It looked like Auntie Rosa would come with us as far as the guest house to help out. However, when she heard Uncle Krause's voice call out to her, she had no choice but to return. Oh well. Thanks for the sentiment, I guess. Bye, Auntie Rosa. Oh dear.
もう戻らないと。
I have to go back.
皆さん、ゲストハウスまでお戻りですか？
Is everyone returning to the guest house? After we left the hall on the way to the entrance, the door to the servant room opened and Shanon-chan stepped out.
だいぶ暗くなっておりますので、私がご案内させていただきます。
It has become very dark, so allow me to guide you.
ちょうどよかったわ、シャノちゃん。
Perfect timing, Shanon-chan.
ジョージ君がマリアをおぶっていってくれるの。
George-kun is going to carry Maria there.
傘をさしてあげてくれないかしら。
Could you hold an umbrella for him?
はい、かしこまりました。
Yes, certainly. Shanon-chan brought umbrellas for each of us and a flashlight to guide the way. As we opened the front door, The downpour was quite terrific. It looked like we wouldn't have any spare time to take a pleasant walk and enjoy the nighttime rose garden.
兄貴重くねえか
Aniki, is she too heavy?
俺が背負うぜ
Want me to carry her?
大丈夫だよ
It's alright.
マリアちゃんくらい背負えるよ
I can at least carry Maria-chan.
本当にありがとうね
I'm truly grateful.
マリアをよろしくお願い
Please take care of Maria.
わかりました。
Right, we understand.
じゃあおやすみなさい、おばさん。
In that case, good night, Auntie.
それではお送りしてまいります。
Then I will see them over there and return here.
ええよろしく
Yes, please. Auntie Rosa saw us off. Maria,
いつもごめんね
I'm so sorry for everything. Rosa's mumbling voice didn't reach the person in question, nor anyone else, but disappeared beneath the sound of the rain. After cutting through the rainy rose garden, we arrived at the guest house.
俺がマリアを背負って立候補すりゃよかったぜ
Ah, if only I'd applied for the position of Maria Carrier.
そうすりゃ傘を差してくれるシャノンちゃんのでっけえお胸を二の腕でたっぷり堪能できたってのによ
Good God, Battler. Then I'd have gotten to rub Shannon-chan's huge chest all over with my arm as she held the umbrella over me.
そんなつもりじゃないよ誤解だよ
That's not on purpose. It's a misunderstanding.
そうしないとジョージ様が濡れてしまうと思いまして。
I thought that if I didn't, George-sama would get all wet.
ほーら、バカなこと言ってないで入るぜ。
Come on, quit babbling and go in. After being nudged by Jessica, Shannon folded up her umbrella and went into the guest house.
お召し物を濡らしてしまった方はいらっしゃいませんか？
Has anyone gotten their clothes wet?
タオルを用意いたしますが。
I can bring some towels if you would like.
そこまで気を使わなくていいぜ
You don't need to worry about us that much.
ありがとうよシャノンちゃん
Thanks, Shannon-chan.
そうだ
Oh, yes.
僕たちはこれからトランプでもして少し遊ばないかって話なんだけどよかったら少し一緒しないかい
We were saying earlier that we would play some cards. Do you want to stay with us for a while?
あれ？
Huh?
今日のシフト、深夜勤は誰になってんだ？
Who had the night shift on today's schedule?
親族会議中は特別シフトになってたと思いました。
I believe there is a special schedule for the duration of the family
少
conference.
し変更も出てるみたいなので、ちょっと確認してきます。
I think there were a few changes, so I will go and check.
ああわざわざ屋敷に戻らないとわからないんなら無理に
Wait, if you have to go all the way back to the mansion to find out, you don't have to force yourself.
大丈夫です。
It's all right.
ゲストハウスの使用人室でわかりますので。
I can find out from the servant room in the guest house. I have a bad feeling about this, Shannon-chan. You're not going to have an alibi for the murder.
ちょっと失礼しますね。
Please excuse me for a short while. Shannon-chan gave a quick bow and went into the guest house servant room. The rest of us headed for the cousin's room and put Maria in the bed for the time being. Murders? Obviously, this is a slice of life visual novel where women smack their children so hard that their hand goes numb. Yes, a slice of life visual novel about an ordinary family on an ordinary island. Hello, Yaya. It's Umineko Day. It sure is. Maria was sleeping very deeply, and there was absolutely no sign of her eyes opening. Who up starlighting their Umineko? « We got some drinks out of the room's refrigerator and spent some time playing cards while drinking. Some nice, non-alcoholic drinks.
あれ
Oh?
カノン君源氏様までこちらに
Kanon-kun? Even Genji-sama is
今
here.
夜のシフトはどうなっているのでしょうか
What is happening with tonight's shift?
クラウス様の命令があってね。
Kraus-sama has given an order.
シフトの大掛かりな変更があったんだよ。
There have been modifications made to most of the schedule. Indeed.
ゴーダがお屋敷の深夜勤に変更になった。
Goda has been changed to the night shift at the mansion.
シャノンとカノンはゲストハウスの深夜勤。
You and Kanon have the night shift in the guest house. Yes! They can hang!
私と熊沢はゲストハウスに泊まるようにとのご命令だ。
Why only Goda? Oh, I get it. Because, the siblings, the Ushiromiya siblings want anybody in with Daddy-o, Kinzo, out of the picture while they're in such a dangerous situation. And so since Goda is newest and would have the least loyalty and least not loyalty, but least likely to be a spy for Kinzo, they want him in the house and everybody else out of the house. I get it. So they're not being spied on for Kinzo. I think that's what Kraus is trying to do. Kumasawa-san and I have been ordered to spend the night in the guest
お
house.
前も今夜はこのままこちらにとどまるよう。たった今電話があった。
We just now had a phone call stating that you are to remain here as well. Huh?
ずいぶん大掛かりな
That's quite a large
変
modification.
更ですねお屋敷とゲストハウスの当番がまるっきり逆になってるじゃないですか
The shifts at the guest house and the mansion have been completely reversed, haven't they? Originally, Shannon and Kanon had been given the night shift in the mansion, while the night shift in the guest house, where all the relatives were staying, originally, before they were like, all right, we're gonna have rooms in the mansion, had been assigned to Goda, who had an abundance of experience in entertaining. Kumasawa had been scheduled to stay in the guest house, while Genji had been scheduled to stay in the mansion. However, it seemed that Kraus had suddenly ordered that the schedule be modified. The shifts at the guest house and the mansion had all been reversed, and Genji was spending the night in the guest house. Genji, who's the most loyal to Kinzo.
多分ベアトリーチェ様の手紙のせいだろうね。
I think you're right, Kanon. It's probably because of Beatrice-sama's letter.
多分ってどうして
Probably? Why?
あんな怪しげな手紙が現れたらクラウス様が僕たちを疑うのは当然だからね。
When such a mysterious letter appeared, it was only natural that Kraus-sama would suspect one of us.
親方様直属の僕たちを極力親族会議の席から遠ざけたかったんだろうよ。
We served directly under the master, so Kraus-sama probably wanted to keep us as far away from the family conference as possible. Genji, Shannon, and Kanon were all permitted to wear the Ushiromiya family crest, the one-winged eagle, as servants who served directly under Kinzo. Of course, since they were working for the Ushiromiya family, they had to obey anyone's orders, but their only boss was Kinzo. Since only Kinzo held the right to employ them, even Kraus could not have him dismissed of his own accord. Because of this, they were often viewed by Kraus and the others as Kinzo's underlings and shunned. And in reality, Kinzo would seldom let anyone other than them enter his study. You could probably call this sudden shift a change, a clear expression of that sense of distrust. I was right. Considering the time Kinzo had left to live, this would definitely be the last family conference before the problem of the inheritance would come up. On top of that, the mysterious letter that claimed to be from Beatrice had dropped in out of the blue. Kraus definitely wanted to keep Kinzo's loyal subjects away from the table of such a delicate and important discussion.
ではすまんが、私は向こうでくつろがせてもらう。
If you would excuse me, I will go
も
rest.
し何かあったらすぐによ。
If anything happens, call me. Call me
今
immediately.
夜のお客様は特別だ。
Our company tonight is special.
はい、かしこまりました源氏様。
Yes, certainly, Genji-sama. Genji nodded back, went behind a screen, took off his jacket, and slowly began to relax after a day's worth of tension.
今お戻りになられたのはお子様方。
The ones who just returned now, were they the children?
うん
Yes.
親族の方々はお屋敷で会議を
The other relatives are having a conference in the
だい
mansion.
ぶ長引きそうな雰囲気だったかな
It looked like it would drag on until much later.
なら気楽だね。
That would be
これ
comfortable.
以上の深夜になって、しかもこの天気。
It's already this late, and there's this weather.
多分親族の皆さんはお屋敷の方のお部屋にお泊まりさ。
Probably the rest of the relatives will spend the night in their rooms in the
多
mansion.
分ね
Yes, probably.
源氏様がいないから言うけどゲストハウス行きになってちょっと嬉しかったかな
Oh, you can say that, Shannon. It's okay. Yes, probably. I'm only saying this because Genji-sama isn't around, but I'm a little happy I was sent to the guest house. I think. Oh,
どうしてだい？
why's that?
意地悪な奥様やエヴァ様から離れられたから。
Because you were able to distance yourself from the bullying of Madame and Eva-sama?
それとも別の理由があるのかい？
Or do you have another reason?
別の理由なんかありま
Yeah, right, girl. It's okay. You can say you have fun with the cousins, or you've got some sort of crush on George. I don't know about that, but you can say you're having fun with the cousins. I don't have any other reasons.
そっか。
I see.
なら二人で深夜勤を頑張ろう。
Then let's do our best together with our midnight
よ
shift.
ろしく、姉さん。
I'm counting on you, Nae-san.
えっと
I knew they were siblings.
私ついさっきお子様方にお部屋で遊ばないかとお呼ばれしてて
Just now, I was asked to go to the children's room and play with them. Shannon hung her head apologetically and made uncertain glances towards Kanon's eyes. Kanon didn't try to meet her gaze and spoke curtly as he sighed. He looked like he didn't plan on indulging his sister.
ダメだよ。
You can't.
深夜勤を仰せつかってる。
You were assigned the night
そ
shift.
れに僕たち家具には遊びのお誘いは必要ない。
Oh, come on! Besides that, it is not necessary for furniture like us to respond to an invitation to play.
わかるね。
You understand, right? Oh, come on.
そんなこと分かってます
Yes, I do understand. Shannon dropped her shoulders slightly. She had already expected that Kanon, who considered rules to be very important, would probably say something like that, but even so, she was a little discouraged. As Kanon turned the pages of a law book, he spoke without facing Shannon.
ならお子様方お待たせしてしまってるね。
In that case, you must be keeping the children
深
waiting.
夜勤に当たってしまったからご一緒できないと謝ってこなきゃ。
You'll have to apologize and tell them that you have the night shift and won't be able to stay with
行っ
them.
てきなよ。
Off you go then. Huh? Oh, yes.
私謝ってくるね。
I'll just go and apologize. Shannon hurriedly stood up from her seat before her brother's mood could change, gave a quick bow, and flew out of the servants' room. As he watched her disappear, Kanon took a single deep breath. Genji's voice came from beyond the screen.
カノン、私がここにいるからお前も行くといい。
Kanon, I will be here, so you should go too.
源氏様、誘われたのはシャノンだけです。
Genji-sama, Shannon was the only one
僕
called.
は別に誘われては。
It's not like I was invited.
その場にいなかったからお声をかけられなかっただけだ。
That is only because you were not there at the
言
time.
えばお前も誘われている。
Aww. If you had been, you would have been invited as well.
たまには子供らしく遊んでくるといい。
It is good to play as a child from time to time. Thank you, Genji! Genji the goat.
いえ、僕には必要ない行為です。
No, that's not something that I need to do.
人の子には遊びも必要でしょう
A human child may have a need to
が、
play.
僕らは家具ですから。
Kanon, that's fucked up. Please, have some self-awareness. That's fucked up. A human child may have a need to play, but we are furniture.
そうか。
Is that
姉
so?
さんだって家具です。
Nae-san is also furniture.
人のふりをしたって後で苦しむだけなのに。
Even if she pretends to be a person, it will only hurt her later.
僕はそれが分かっているから人に近づきたくないだけなんです。
I understand that, so I try not to get too close to people. Genji did not say anything after that. Stella just jumped up. You're blocking the screen, Stella. Hey, well, the text is big enough that I can still read it through OBS. All right. A few moments passed, and then he stood up. He used a pot of hot water to make some hot chocolate from powder and served it to Kanon as well. Aww. Genji the goat.
そりゃ本当かよ。
Holy crap! Seriously?
そりゃ知らなかったぜ。
I did not know that.
声が大きいぜ。
Keep it down,
マリアが
dumbass.
起きちゃうだろ。
You'll wake Maria up. Battler was so surprised that he yelled obnoxiously and scattered his cards everywhere. His voice caused Maria to turn over once, but she soon fell back into a deep sleep. Jessica gave him a job, and he lowered his
い
voice.
やしかし言われてみれば確かにそれっぽい雰囲気はあったんだよな。
No, but yeah, now that you've said that, they really did have that kind of atmosphere, didn't they? What are you talking about?
なるほどな。ジョージの兄貴がな。
Oh, about George and Shannon? Oh, now I see. That George Aniki. George could not be seen anywhere in the room. A short while ago, when Shannon had come into the room, George had suddenly said that he had forgotten something in the mansion and needed to go back and get it. Shannon had said she would guide him, like she had on the way to the guest house, and the two of them had departed together.
いや、昔からそれっぽい気配はあったんだぜ。
They've been showing signs of it for a long time, you know?
好きなものを聞いてきたり、趣味を聞いてきたりさ。
Asking what the other person liked, asking what their hobbies were.
単に関心を持つだけにしてはどうも。なんて思ってたらよ。
I always knew it was too much to just be a passing interest.
そういや昔から上司の兄貴は シャノンちゃんにやたらと優しかった気がするぜ。
Come to think of it, I get the feeling that George Aniki has always been overly nice to Shannon-chan.
なるほどな。
Now I get it. If you guys hear a noise, that is my cat rubbing the mic stand. Oh, where's that?
天気予報によると今夜が一番ひどいみたい。
According to the weather report, it looks like it will be at its worst tonight.
明日いっぱいもやまないらしいけど、もう少しマシになるそうだよ。
It also seems that it won't stop all tomorrow. Umineko, Neko is cat, and it knew what was. Yeah, Stella knew you knew you were needed to torment me, even though it's not time for your food yet. I don't know if and you don't even need me to curl up because you're cold either. I started your electric cat bed. What more could you possibly want? According to the weather report, it looks like it will be at its worst tonight. It also seems that it won't stop all tomorrow, but it should get a little better.
そうですか。
Really?
では
Then,
あさってまでは船は来られないかもしれませんね。
the boat may not arrive until the day after
ジョ
tomorrow.
ージ様の月曜日のお勤めに差し支えが出ないか心配です。
I'm concerned that it might interfere with your work on Monday.
台風が来ていることは知っていたからね。
I already knew the typhoon would be coming beforehand.
万一に備えて月曜日には予定を入れなかったから大丈夫さ。
Just in case, I made sure that I didn't have any plans for Monday, so it's all right. How prudent.
こう見えてもスケジュールは先読みできるタイプなんだ。
I may not look like it, but I really am the type who can plan ahead in his schedule. George puffed out his chest, acting proud. Compared to the normally composed appearance that George always had as the oldest cousin, he now looked amusingly like a little kid. Shannon chuckled at this gap. You have gap, Moe?
さすが。やがては会社を起こされる方はしっかりしていますね。
Ooh, new music. It's no surprise that someone who will soon make his company prosperous is so well prepared.
やっぱり会社を起こすというのは大変だね。
Well, making a company prosperous really is a tough job.
お金とかそういうのだけじゃないものがとても大事だって。
Money isn't the only thing that's important.
父さんのところで勉強していてわかるよ。
I learned that well by studying from my father.
会社を起こすということは城を持ち部下を率いるということ。
Making a company prosperous is like having a castle and leading your subordinates.
うちの父さんは秀吉って名前だけあって戦国武将のエピソードがとても好きでね。
My father, true to his name of Hideyoshi, really loves reading about the great leaders of the Sengoku period. So, the three great leaders of the end of the Sengoku period that kind of goes into the Edo period were Tokugawa Ieyasu, Oda Nobunaga, and Toyotomi Hideyoshi. So Toyotomi Hideyoshi is the one he's referring to. And it was Tokugawa Ieyasu who ended up being the winner of the power struggle and established the Tokugawa shogunate. And so the Sengoku era came to an end.
会社経営の哲学をよくそこから語るんだ。
Most of his philosophical speeches on business management start with one of them.
知ってるかい？
Did you know?
戦国最強の騎馬軍団と恐れられた武田信玄も最初は部下たちの結束がバラバラで統率力をまるで発揮できなかったんだそうだよ。
Takeda Shingen, who was feared as the leader of the strongest cavalry corps in the Sengoku period, started out with his troops in complete disarray and didn't have the kind of strong leadership necessary to utilize them well. I saw some... What movie did I see with Takeda Shingen in it? It wasn't Rashomon. Oh god, what was it? I saw some movie with him as a character. Is that true?
なんだか意外ですね。
That's a little unexpected.
信玄は部下たちを結束させるため数々のリーダーシップを発揮してるんだよ。
In order to unite his troops, Shingen utilized several strategies.
例えば戦場で武功を立てた部下に対しすぐその場で報奨を与えたり、
For example, when a soldier succeeded well in battle, he would immediately honor them with a medal.
普通こういうのは戦が終わってからまとめてやるものだからね。
Normally, that kind of thing was put off until after the war and they were all awarded at once.
それを戦場の本陣の中にいながらまめにやり続け、
By doing that regularly on the field of battle,
部下の武功を素早く評価しやる気につなげたというのは非常に大きいことだよ。
he immediately showed his appreciation for his troops' military exploits, which motivated them in an extremely significant fashion.
それから部下が病気で伏せった時には誰よりも早く駆けつけお見舞いをしたとかね。
Furthermore, whenever one of his troops was brought down by an illness, he would be the first to rush up to them and care for them, things like that. Oh, how nice, even though it was all for morale.
武田信玄は戦国最強の騎馬軍団を率いただけじゃない。
Takeda Shingen wasn't just the man who led... Takeda Shingen wasn't just the man who led the strongest cavalry corps in the Sengoku period.
戦国一の部下思いの人だったんだよ。
He was the person who cared the most for his troops throughout the Sengoku period. I have my doubts, but sure, that would be pretty cool of him.
そんな方だから部下の皆さんもついてきてくれたんですね。
That must be why all of his troops followed him. The truth was, Shannon had already heard this story several years ago, but when George started to tie his father in with one of these stories, he would always be beaming, looking like he was having a great time. So Shannon did not interrupt, but merely smiled to encourage him to continue. Oh my god, this is so real. Getting told the same stories several times, and you're just like, like it's the first time you've heard it.
確かに資本主義の世界ではお金は力で石垣の高さでもある。
Of course, in a capitalist world, money is power, and it is also the height of your castle wall.
でもね、戦も城も自分一人じゃ成り立たない。
But you can't build up a castle or succeed in war by yourself.
大勢の部下に支えられ、その力を借りて初めて成立するものなんだよ。
That kind of thing can only be created with the support of many subordinates by borrowing their strength. Damn! George, not realizing he's explaining the wealth gap.
それを理解してから父さんの背中を見ると自分がいかに未熟で
After understanding this, when I look at my father's back, I realize how immature I am.
父さんがどれほどの切磋琢磨をして今日を築き上げてきたかがよくわかるんだ。
I see how much my father has cultivated his character by working hard, and understand well how he was able to build up all that he has until today.
ジョージ様はお父様のことをとても尊敬されているんですね。
George-sama, you truly look up to your father.
羨ましいです。
I'm jealous.
ごめん。別にそういう意味で言ったんじゃないんだよ。
Sorry. That's not exactly the way I meant to say it.
すみません。 私も別にそういう意味で言ったつもりは。
I'm sorry. I also didn't mean it that way. The two of them awkwardly looked at their feet. Shannon had no parents. She had been brought up in a welfare institute owned by Kinzo called the Gospel House. Oh, really? Under the guidance of the honorary director, Kinzo, the Gospel House offered excellent students a chance to live a life of service. If they were accepted, they would be able to leave the institute and work as servants for the Ushinomiya family. This was considered to be the highest honor for a student. Servants from the Gospel Fukujin house all took names with the character On in them while they served. Oh, so Shannon and Kanon. So Gospel is Fukujin, which means bountiful or prosperous sound. So that works for Gospel, a prosperous sound. So they all took the character for sound with them while they served, and that's the On in Kanon and Shannon. So that's not their real names. Oh! Okay, yeah, she didn't seem like the kind of person who would literally be named Shannon, because that's like a serious Ushinomiya thing to do. And she's not an Ushinomiya. So Shannon wasn't her real name. The same goes for Kanon. All of the students of the Gospel House were orphans. Or, failing that, people who had been disowned by their parents through some special circumstances. Because of this, the students had been taught to think of each other as their only family. That's why it seems so natural to Kanon. Wait, so they're not related? Really? They've got the same eyes. That's why it seems so natural for Kanon to call Shannon his sister. So they're not really siblings. Oh shit. And while only Shannon and Kanon were working today in the mansion, there were other servants who worked in the shift rotation named Manon and Lennon, Manon, who also inherited the On in their names. Oh, so they're just not on the island right now. Lennon, Manon, who also inherited the On character in their names. However, there were not many servants who stayed with the Ushinomiya family for long. It was standard for them to quit after 3 years, but these two hadn't. So you could probably say that Shannon, who had been working for over 10 years, was a very rare exception to the rule. But why? Working as a servant for the Ushinomiya family was a heavy burden to bear, but the pay wasn't bad at all. Working for a full 3 years would earn more than what was needed to enter mainstream society. That was why, even though the students realized what a harsh task working for the Ushinomiya family was, they still hoped to be accepted. But in Shannon's case, maybe the fact that she had managed to continue for more than 10 years should not be viewed as her having more willpower than any of the other servants. I mean, she started stupid young, right? Maybe it was a lack of courage to say that she wanted to quit that forced her to continue working for those 10 years. Oh, I can understand that. Kinzo, who could not even trust his own blood relatives, those excellent servants sent from the Gospel House were the only ones he could trust. So there was probably pressure from Kinzo to keep working. Because of that, Kinzo would sometimes allow them to wear the family crest as servants under his direct control and have them work close to him.
もう勤めて10年近くになるんだっけ?
So that's a rather demure George sprite. You've already been working here about 10 years, was it?
だいぶお金も貯まったんじゃないかい？
You must have saved up a lot of money by now, right?
どうでしょう。
I don't know, really.
別に私買いたいものも特にありませんし、
It's not like there's anything in particular I'd like to buy.
ほんの何百万かあったってそれで残りの人生を過ごせるわけもありませんし。
And just because you have a few million yen doesn't mean you have enough to live the rest of your life with. Yeah, it's not the same as a few $1,000,000.
目標の額があってお勤めを続けてるわけじゃないのかい？
So you haven't been working here trying to reach a target sum?
そうですね。
No, I haven't.
私はこのお屋敷以外に行くあてもありませんし、
I have nowhere to go outside of this mansion.
お嬢様とも他の使用人の子たちとも仲良くやれてますし。
I've been getting along well with Milady and the other young servants too. That's a lie.
奥様には時折お叱りを受けますけど、バラの世話や
Oh, Milady,
お屋
sorry.
敷のお掃除も楽しいですし。
Milady must be Jessica. Okay, getting along well, Jessica and the other young servants like Conan. Okay, that's true. That's true. I am sometimes scolded by Madam, but caring for the rose garden and cleaning the mansion is fun.
でもそれはシャノンちゃんのサヨちゃんの人生じゃない。
Oh, you know her name? You know her real name? Her real name is Sayo? Oh, so does that mean the kanji in everybody's name is part of their real name? Because the kanji for sa in Sayo there is the same as the sha in Shannon. So probably they just replaced one of the kanji in her name with the sound kanji to make Shannon. Ooh, I see. But that isn't your life. That isn't your life, Sayo-chan. Oh! Then the Sin, thank you so much for raiding. Hello, how are you doing? Let me shout you out. Then the Sin, what were you doing? You're out of the cage. Hello. Oh no, did that not work? Oh my god, oh my god. Let me try that again. Playing Apex, nice. There we go. There we go. Oh, Seppeku, thank you so much for raiding. Anyway, hello. My setup? Ah, thank you. That's so sweet. So how did you find me? Do you like Umineko? Thank you. Yeah, so I'm Katie. Oh yes, I think I did see you. Yay, thank you. Thank you for following. Thank you so much for rating. I really appreciate it. So if you don't know me, found me through Damien or Main Beach. Oh, I see. Well, welcome, welcome. So I'm Katie. I often do story-driven games like this one. I'm playing Umineko no Naku Koro ni. VN Supremacy. Yes, that's right. And this is a gumi. I made this gumi by needle felting. So actually on Tuesday I did a needle felting stream. So I was making crafts like this little guy right here. And you can see more little guys I made. If you scroll down and see my panels have pictures of more of the little guys I've made out of wool. And, but yeah, this is a gumi, like the Pokemon. And so that's my usual thing. The chunky cat, yes, that's from Final Fantasy XIV. That's the fat cat. I really love how the fat cat turned out. I should have a full VOD of me entirely making the fat cat on stream on my YouTube channel. Nice! Oh, well, then perfect. So every Sunday, I do a Final Fantasy XIV lore stream. I'm only in Heavensward right now, so if you're not that far in, you're probably not going to get spoiled by too much. But yeah, I do a Final Fantasy XIV lore stream every Sunday, and then I change over to a different avatar, so you'll have to see. Oh, still at the intro town. Ooh, do you remember which one you started at? Was it the desert one, or the seaside one, or the forest one? Oh, Gridania, that's where I first started too. Nice. It is pretty. That's nice. Yes. Oh yeah, speaking of D&D, I had a Baldur's Gate 3 run going that I need to start up again sometime. I was playing Super Mario RPG and Bloodborne, and I figured when I was done with those, I was gonna go back to Bald Man's Gate and keep going on my playthrough. And I'm glad I held off because the huge new patch came out today, and that's got all these changes I think will be real nice for the playthrough I had going on stream. I have impeccable taste. Why, thank you very much. Thank you. Isn't this nice background music to talking about this kind of stuff? Anyway, that's insane. Well, I'll have to see if I have to delete anything off my PS5 to make room. Anyway, fuck that. I guess I'm playing Final Fantasy XIV. There you go. Yay! Nice. So, so Finn, thank you so much for raiding. I really appreciate it. I guess I should go on. So I don't know if you played this game before, but it's like this very rich, very screwed up family is having a conference on this island, and it's getting all set up for murder mystery, and there's like a contract with a witch and like gold that the head of the household is like challenging his children to go find. And so this is one of the grandchildren on the right, and as you can probably tell, one of the servants on the left. And so there's a typhoon going on outside, so everyone's trapped on the island and can't get off. So, you know, what if something happens? Nobody can get on or off the island. Danganronpa fan, you've been here before. Oh yes. I was an old Danganronpa fan from way back. I actually did a lot of Danganronpa role playing, and so I have friends I've known for 10 years because of Danganronpa. We 10 years ago. Who do you like? Oh, at the time, my favorite's Nanami. Oh yeah, Celeste is great. Yeah, Nanami Chiaki is my favorite. I cosplayed Nanami once. Oh, the hair, wow. I follow someone on Twitter who did an amazing Celeste cosplay with the hair. It's like, you need to build the hair. You can't just do that with an ordinary wig or just your hair, you know? So I wish you lots of luck. That's really ambitious. But it can be done. I've seen it. There's a Twitch streamer who posted the VOD of her making it. Oh, nice. That's cool. I also liked... When I first started, I think I liked Ishimaru. And like... Kirigiri. I also like... Oh my god. Hinata. I also like Hinata. Oh no, not Taka. Yeah. I'm remembering now the official English version's little nicknames for everybody, like Taka. Aoi's great. Yeah, she's great. I also played Ultra Despair Girls, and I watched somebody play V3. I watched a let's play of V3. I haven't actually played it myself yet. Hajime, yeah. See, I was around from the like Something Awful forum days, so I'm just used to calling everybody by their last names. I mean, 1 and 2 are the ones that are worth playing. Oh yeah, and then I saw the anime and stuff like that. I did play the like official 1 and 2 later, and then the plot goes, yep, pretty much. it's like you can just play 1 and 2 and you're good. If you want to go down a rabbit hellhole, you can play more, but like don't say we didn't warn you if you go in. You'll okay. I really appreciate it though, Finn. Thank you. All right, I'll keep going. Thank you so much for reading. All right. So Shannon cast her eyes downwards when she heard her real name, Sayo. She understood what George was trying to say and closed her mouth. No, my audio. There we go. Even after becoming an adult and a full-fledged member of society, I've been studying and I've learned something. A human's life is not as monotonous or as short as we thought when we were kids. That horrifying thought that everyone has in their student years. Will the rest of my life be like a monotonous, boring, sleep-inducing after-school class where I endlessly, lazily while away the time until finally it ends without anything interesting ever happening? However, these thoughts only arise while a person is still an underage student. Compared to a human's life, the time they spend as a student is nothing more than a blink of the eye, just the period before they break out of their shells and cast off their immaturity. Wow, that's pretty deep. Damn. The inside of the shell might be a hot, suffocating, and boring world. But the world beyond that is a shell. Beyond that shell is vast and filled with limitless possibilities, and if you're like me, those possibilities are terrifying. So far, your life has been spent only within a shell called Shannon. Aren't you making the mistake of thinking that your life will always continue like this?
それは
That is... Shannon couldn't deny those words. She hadn't been able to find any concrete issues with her way of life. And since she'd never had any desire or goal to change herself in any particular way, she had continued her life idly. and if she were asked whether her life was already fulfilled, she wouldn't necessarily have been able to nod. That may have been a truth she was deliberately averting her eyes from. She's avoiding it. Shannon's just like me for real. As long as George did not realize that truth, she would have continued pretending not to notice as her real life slipped away, neglected bit by bit.
庄司様、私はこのままでいてはいけないのでしょうか。
George-sama, is it wrong for me to continue living this way?
いけないよ。
It's wrong.
あ、それから今ルール違反が一つあったね。
Oh, and by the way, didn't you break one of the rules just now? George immediately gave a strict answer and then broke out into a mischievous smile. Oh, they're not supposed to say their names. They're just supposed to be like, yes, thank you, my lord, stuff like that. Shannon already knew what she was being chided for, and it seemed that it embarrassed her as she hung her head.
僕たちしかいないときは、様は
Oh.
なしの約束だ。
So, you guys are getting hot and heavy? Is that Didn't you promise not to use sama when the two of us are alone? Oh, y'all. Wait, how old is Shannon again?
約束では聞けません。
I can't obey that as a
で
promise.
すが、ご命令でしたら聞かないわけにはいきません。
But if it was an order, I would have to obey it
私は
because I'm
家具ですから。
furniture.
じゃあ命令だよ。
Then it's an order. Well, thanks a lot, George. Okay. Isn't that kind of weird? Okay.
はい、
Yes,
かしこまりました、ジョージさん。
certainly, George-san. As Shannon hung her head, her face red, she said George's name again, this time using san.
それでいいよ、さやちゃん。
Yes, that's better, Sayo-chan. A smile rose to George's face, praising Sayo's small act of bravery. The way they talked with each other gave off the sense that their relationship had already been ongoing for some time. For a long while, as if the weather raging around them didn't even enter their consciousness, the two of them talked about the many memories they'd built during their relationship that no one else knew about. Every once in a while, a flash of lightning would attempt to dampen the mood, but it could not sully these moments, which seemed to flush even the roses outside a deeper shade of red.
Hmm. そうだ。
Oh yes.
君に見せたいものがあって。
I have something I wanted to show you.
なんでしょうか。
What could it be? George, who had been speaking eloquently, suddenly started to stutter. From his manner, Shannon too understood something. George timidly searched through his pocket for it. It got caught deep in his pocket somehow, and came out somewhat slowly and awkwardly, in the same manner as his speech. It was a very small box. A small box covered in a deep blue velvet. Its characteristic shape was enough to make anyone realize what was resting inside. Bro, isn't this a little early? Unless it's a promise ring or what? Shannon had been preparing her heart a little, sure of what it must be. But even so, when she actually saw it, she couldn't avoid blushing once more. George opened the small box and took it out and held it out for Shannon to take.
これを君に受け取ってほしいんだ。
Oh my god, this music. I want you to accept this.
このような高価なものはお受け取りできません。
I can't accept something so valuable.
受け取れない。
You can't accept it?
いえ、こんなもの私には過ぎていて。
That's not... I meant... Something like that is too... good for me.
さよ。これはお願いじゃない。
Sayo, this is not a request.
命令だよ。
It's an order, okay?
この指輪を受け取って。
Accept this ring.
ね。
Okay?
命令では従わなくてはなりません。
I can't disobey an order.
そうだね。
Yes, that's right.
いい子だよ。
Good girl. CG time! Shannon, not wanting to show her bright red face, timidly accepted the ring from George's hand while still staring at the ground. That ring wasn't a simple accessory. It was a noble object, which since ancient times is meant to be offered to a special woman with a special meaning. So while George could order her to take it, he could not order anything beyond that. Anything beyond that would depend not on an order, but on Sayo's own will. Oh my god, this music is so dramatic. It's so good.
だからここからはもう命令じゃない。
So, from here on, it's no longer an order.
さよ。明日までに言葉でない形で返事がもらいたい。
Sayo, I want you to answer me tomorrow without using words.
わかるね。
Do you understand?
どうすれば。
How?
もうこれ以上は命令じゃないから、僕は君に命令はしない。
I won't order you anymore, so this isn't an order.
でも、指輪は指にするものだからね。
But a ring is something you put on your
気
finger.
に入ってくれたなら、好きな指につけてくれればいい。
If you like it, you can just put it on any finger that you choose. Shannon had only pretended not to know. She had already understood what he wanted her to do. She was standing at a huge crossroads of her life.
もうこんな時間だね。
Look how late it's
今夜
gotten.
はこれくらいにしよ
Let's call it a night. George faced away from Shannon, seeming slightly uncomfortable.
う。君に左手につけてほしいと命令することもできるかもしれない。
It might be possible for me to order you to put it onto a finger of your left
君
hand.
も命令されればそれに従えるという臆病な甘えがあるかもしれない。
You too might be timid and dependent enough to actually obey that kind of an order.
でも最後のここだけは君のさよの意志でしてもらいたいんだ。
But I want you to do this very last part of your own will. Sayo,
わかるね。
you understand, right?
はい。
Yes.
だからそれが命令。
So, that's my order.
今夜よく考えて明日その返事を見せてほしい。
I want you to think about it well tonight and show me your answer tomorrow. Yeah, but don't you think, like, Natsuhi or, like, Goda is gonna see that ring on her finger and not, like, get on her ass about it? Okay. Shano nodded back. Today was the culmination of their long relationships. This has been going on a long time, really? This moment had not come as any surprise to Shannon.
そろそろゲストハウスに戻ろうか。
We should be getting back to the guest house soon.
これ以上遅いと
If we take any longer,
みんなを心配させちゃうよ。
we'll make everyone worry about us.
すみません。私、
I'm sorry.
そのお屋敷に用を思い出しまして、そのお屋敷へ行かねばなりません。
I just remembered something I had to do in the mansion, so, I have to go back to the mansion.
こんな時間に
Something this late?
本当かな。
Really? George stared into Shannon's face as he laughed mischievously. He had seen through that obvious lie of Shannon's. But imagining how she felt, it wasn't as if he couldn't understand her embarrassment and why she might ask to be alone. And so George, having understood Shannon's lie and all that was behind it, allowed her to leave. A friggin' jump scaring me. It's now 11 o'clock. Night of the storm. Shannon entered the entrance hall to the mansion with a tottering gait. Her chest was filled almost to the bursting point with a mixture of exultation and uncertainty that she couldn't easily describe. After stopping for a second in front of the servant room to take a deep breath and calm her heart, she opened the door. Inside, Goda, who had been ordered to take the midnight shift at the mansion tonight, was absorbed in an old, worn-out crossword puzzle magazine. He looked up for an instant to see whether one of the family had come, but when he realized that it was a fellow servant, he returned to his puzzle as if nothing had happened.
源氏様より郷田さんのお手伝いにつくように言われてまいりました。
I was told by Genji-sama to help you.
ああ、そうですか。それは助かります。
Ah, really? That will be useful.
そろそろ戸締まりの見回りに行きたかったのですが、ここを開けてもいいものか困っていたのです。
I was just about to go make the rounds to close up the mansion, but I was in two minds whether I should leave this place empty.
何しろ、旦那様方の会合はまだだいぶ続きそうですからね。
After all, the meeting Kraus-sama and the others are conducting appears as though it will continue for quite some
いつ
time.
何時お茶のご用命があるかもわかりませんし。
They might order some tea at any time.
そうですよね。
That's true.
ではどうしましょうか。私が留守番を。
Then what shall we do? Should I remain here
で
while...
はシャノンさん、申し訳ありませんが、お屋敷内の見回りをお願いします。
Oh, Goda just wants to stay here and make her do all the work. In that case, Shannon-san, sorry, but would you please make the rounds around the mansion?
私はここで親族の皆さんのご用命の待機をしておりますので。
I will stay here, awaiting the family's orders. Oh yeah, he just wants to make... He just wants to show off by very nicely giving them tea. Okay.
はい。
Poor Shannon. Yes. Shannon felt a twinge of annoyance. Despite the fact that she had come here to help out as a favor, she was forced to do the job of the person actually on duty as though it were natural. Furthermore, after one-sidedly forcing that task on her, Goda had once again gone back to his magazine and had become immersed in his crossword puzzle. What a piece of work! For the time being, as a sign of respect for her elder, Shannon bowed her head and she left the room to make the rounds. Getting a little angry had enabled her to bring the airy sensation she had been feeling until now under control a bit. Besides, she couldn't show this kind of face to Genji and Kanon until her heart was able to calm down. She wanted a little time to herself, and maybe going around the mansion wasn't such a bad way to do that. From the dining hall, she began to hear the tumultuous voices of the family's discussion. Oh, great. Someone would speak at great length and would then be opposed by someone else. That rebuttal would continue in a very long, drawn-out fashion until opposed by yet another person. That kept on repeating. It was as though their displeasure was seeping out through their voices. She had been told to go to the guest house, so it would be bad if she was discovered by Kraus. Thinking that, Shannon quick-footedly slipped by the entrance to the dining hall. Then, inside the mansion controlled by darkness, she began to check that the house was all closed up, following a prearranged route. Uh-oh, is she going to discover the body? She walked down the hall, checking that each window was closed. On Rokenjima, there were no humans other than the family, so in actuality, closing up wasn't that terribly meaningful of a task. Until Natsuhi had scolded them that this attitude was careless, closing up had not been customary in the Ushinomiya family. Okay, Natsuhi, whatever. The metal fixtures on the completely chilled windows were freezing, and every time she went to check on them one by one, it felt like the glow in her heart seemed to cool down. No! Oh? A butterfly? Just then, she thought she saw something flickering across the hall. Flickering? Something like that shouldn't be visible beyond the darkness of the hall. Although she thought it was probably her eyes playing tricks on her, she killed her breathing for a brief moment, and, grasping a curtain, she fearfully gazed into the center of the hall. However, other than the occasional crack of thunder brightening the hallway, she was unable to glimpse any flicker again. It must have been her imagination after all. Maybe because she couldn't calm her heart, she saw something that didn't even exist. Shannon resumed, checking the windows. However, in the back of her mind, a certain unnerving possibility had been resurrected. It was that which had been passed down amongst the servants who served the Ushinomiya main family, that ghost story, in which the mansion had different masters of the day and the night, in which the master of the night, Beatrice, would sometimes fly around the mansion in the form of sparkling butterflies. And what did we just see? It was a butterfly. Come to think of it, hadn't Kanon-kun said that he had once seen it for himself? He got sulky when I didn't believe him and told him he was just seeing things. Could it possibly really... The roar of thunder gave no answer. Mysterious. There's the portrait of Beatrice. Is it midnight? Is it midnight? Is shit going down at midnight? Totally not suspicious at all, right? Ooh, that's so unnerving. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Is it? Oh no. Or is it 4 a.m.? Butterfly. Ooh. So is it midnight now? Oh, that was so good. You missed chapter 1 vibes. It's such a classic. Ooh hoo 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 hoo. I'm glad I could bring this back to you. Midnight shit's going down, and we're getting a little glance at everybody and their locations. Something. Where's Nanjo? He's just in a void of darkness. Rip Nanjo. She's mocking me. Ah, that was so good. Yup, I was right. It's 12:30. Okay. So, oh no, wait. Yeah, no, wait, was that, wait. No, that was 6 a.m.? 6 o'clock? The second day, October 5th, 1986. Wait, wait, so is it 6 o'clock in the morning? Did everybody just go to sleep? Wait, I'm confused. Okay. Stella, I'm trying to figure out what's going on. You don't need to knock the mic stand with your face. All right. Genji once again tightened his bow tie and looked outside through a crack in the curtains. Maybe the rain had died down a tiny bit since the previous night. Okay, it's gotta be 6 a.m. But it didn't look like the thick rain clouds were planning to let any trace of the morning sun get by. The morning was dim and far from refreshing. So what happened last night? Are we gonna find the dead body and then we're gonna all talk about what we did last night? Who was where? Doing what? Who was in the parlor with the candlestick? Stella, this is not the time. The morning was dim and far from refreshing.
やはり今日いっぱいはやみそうにないか。
As expected, it doesn't seem that it will stop today.
お待たせしました、源氏様。
My apologies for keeping you waiting, Genji-sama. Kanon finished checking his appearance and exited the washroom. In a normal schedule, it was rare for anyone to have to suffer going straight from a midnight shift to a morning shift. But Kraus had to go be a little bitch. It was a special system for just the 2 days of the family conference. But then, as long as the typhoon didn't leave today, the relative stay on the island would last until tomorrow. Kanon thought that it was best to be prepared for the special schedule to be extended one more day. The two of them left the guest house, opening their umbrellas. The rose garden had been devastated by the wind and rain last night. Oh, I guess we didn't expect any less, but oh. Even though they had spent several days making it beautiful to welcome the guests, it had only taken one stormy night to ruin it. Kanon sighed. The two headed for the mansion. They were supposed to meet up with Goda and prepare breakfast. Goda was such a perfectionist. He would undoubtedly have been up for some time already, and now be in the middle of preparing breakfast, both exquisite and as elegant as glasswork. They reached the overhang by the entrance to the mansion and folded up their umbrellas. Genji took from his pocket a bundle of several keys and used it to unlock the front door. There was nothing on Rokenjima outside the Ushinomiya family mansion, so there never used to be a custom of locking up. However, Natsuhi had ordered that it be part of their duties to lock up the mansion from around midnight to early morning. And unlocking in the early morning was to be done by the servants who had the morning shift. Since Goda would begin the preparations for breakfast as soon as he woke up, this task was to be undertaken by Genji and Kanon. Silence had fallen in the mansion, giving the impression that the mansion itself was still asleep.
では、朝の仕事を始めよう。
Well then, let us begin the morning chores.
はい。
Yes. The two of them split up and began opening the curtains throughout the mansion. If the curtains remained closed, the inside of the mansion would be unable to shake off its gloom, as if it hadn't yet managed to escape the previous night. Curtains are open. Kanon, following a well-versed procedure, went around the mansion, opening one window after another without having to retrace his steps once. Even with this horrible weather, by opening the curtains, it began to feel just a little bit like morning. All right, so since Kanon and Genji are two of the only people allowed to see Kinzo, they're gonna go in his room and find him dead, right? Is that what's gonna happen? Even with this horrible weather, by opening the curtains, it began to feel just a little bit like morning. Stella! Kitty! While doing that, he passed in front of the kitchen. Even though he hadn't yet smelled anything, the paranoia starts to settle in. I mean, I've been told this is a murder mystery, so I'm waiting for the murder to happen. I know the shoe's gonna drop at any moment. And I know they're only on this island for like 2 or 3 days. Okay. Even though he hadn't yet smelled anything, his empty stomach started aching in anticipation of the scent of Goda's much bragged about cooking.
おはようございます。
Good morning. He tried to greet Goda, who he had thought would be preparing the meal inside the kitchen, but Goda was nowhere to be seen. It's Goda who got murdered. The kitchen was darkly lit, and never mind the curtains, the ventilation fan wasn't even spinning. Something's wrong! We just skipped 6 whole hours. Something must have happened. It was still cold in the room, without a hint of a flame, and of course no preparations for breakfast were taking place. Although it must not be allowed to happen, maybe Goda had overslept. Servants are humans too. They can sometimes fail to wake up or something and be late as a result, unless he's dead! In the rare case of that happening, it was the virtue of a servant to casually smooth the situation over so as to not cause an unsightly scene, and to make sure that their masters never even noticed that such a mistake happened in the first place. Kanon took up the receiver of the phone fitted to the wall and dialed the extension number for the room where the servants slept. He couldn't hear that characteristic sound of a dial tone. The line was cut! The lines have been cut! Somebody's dead! Kanon tried picking up the receiver again, but even so, he couldn't hear the usual dial tone. They cut the lines! He tried dialing again, but it had no apparent effect. Could it be that the lightning last night had caused the mechanical fault and broken the internal telephone lines? The equipment in this mansion was all worn out. Kanon fully understood that even the smallest thing could have caused it to break down. Well, now. Kanon gave up trying to wake him with the phone and dashed off to the room where the servants slept. Yes? How long? Oh! We're going to another scene. How long had she slept until? Red flags everywhere. Wee woo. Yeah, me right now. How long had it been since she had awoken and started lazily staring up at the ceiling? That vague sense of awakening was Natsuhi's usual morning experience. Oh, so we're in Natsuhi's perspective right now. Her sleep was always light, and she wouldn't even have been able to sleep at all without medicine. Oh, this poor girl. To Natsuhi, sleeping was definitely not a happy thing. When she looked outside, she saw that it was still pouring. If she hadn't sensed a tiny amount of light, she might have mistakenly thought that it was still last night. She herself was one of the hosts, so she mustn't wake up later than her guests. Urging herself on, she raised up her body, which still hadn't completely recovered from yesterday's weariness. While she was inside this room, no one would torment her. Poor Natsuhi, Jesus Christ. Her headache wouldn't get any worse than it already was. This room was her only peaceful space. And she sleeps separately from Kraus. I see how it is. So when she left, it meant returning to the world of her husband's siblings, probing each other's minds. Then wouldn't it be better to just stay locked up in this room forever? Real. Being real right now. Natsuhi smiled bitterly at this fantasy. She was starting to sound like Kinzo. Even though most of the time she would call Kinzo names for staying locked up in his own room and taking no notice of anyone, the truth was that she actually longed to do so herself. Hikikomori, Natsuhi confirmed. I don't blame her, honestly. Natsuhi gave her head a small shake, and her fantasy was replaced by the reawakening of her usual headache. When she reached for the doorknob, trying to leave the room, her hand touched the scorpion charm that she had hung from it before to going to sleep the previous night. Oh right, she accepted that from Jessica, and they had a little mother-daughter moment. It was Maria's charm that Jessica had given Natsuhi. If she remembered correctly, Jessica had said something about it having the power to repel magic, and that she should hang it from her doorknob, and then she did it. Oh, that's sweet. Maybe it was thanks to the charm that at least this room had been protected from her husband's siblings' malice. As she thought this, her mood began to get a little more cheerful.
ジェシカのおかげで少しはゆっくり眠れたということかしら。
So, perhaps it was thanks to Jessica that I was able to get a little peaceful sleep. Then Natsuhi remembered. That's right. Last night, I promised Jessica that I would give her a charm of my own in exchange for this one, didn't I? Natsuhi opened a drawer of her dresser and took out an antique accessory case that she had treasured ever since she was a child. Inside, there were many small objects that Natsuhi had thought were valuable at the time. From amidst those, she pulled out a red pouch. Inside was a small, round mirror about 10 centimeters across. It looked quite old, but the design on the back of the mirror was very ornate. and it felt like something with historical value. At the very least, it looked much more effective when compared to the other charm, which looked like a plastic scorpion key holder. She had heard that this mirror was a spiritual mirror to ward off evil spirits, and she had been given it specially by her grandmother when her grandfather's mementos had been distributed. Oh, so it might be like old-fashioned Japanese mirror then, if it's just small and round. It has been believed since ancient times that strange powers dwell within mirrors. Most likely, the way they reflect light created a belief that they could also deflect misfortune and malice in the same way. Natsuhi returned the mirror to its pouch. It would probably be a fitting object to hand over to Jessica. Just as she was placing it in her pocket, the sound of someone knocking on the door suddenly echoed throughout the room. It's gonna be like, Nazi, Goda's dead!
Hi.
Yes?
おはようございます、奥様。源氏でございます。
Good morning, madam. It is Genji.
早朝から申し訳ございません。
My apologies for waking you so early.
今行きます。
I'm coming now.
何事ですか？
What is it? No servant had ever come to her this early in the morning, and especially not directly. Something's wrong! Maybe something bad had happened. For example, maybe some fatal oversight. Fatal, but not probably the fatal she is thinking of. Maybe some fatal oversight had been made during the preparations for breakfast, and the household would be put to shame in front of the guests or something. Natsuhi breathed out slowly, as if getting a head start on the troubles she was surely about to be told of. When she opened the door, Genji once again said a morning greeting to her while bowing deeply. Natsuhi tentatively responded.
おはようございます。
She's already all dressed? That was fast. Or should she just frickin' pass out in her dress? I wouldn't put it past her, I guess. Good morning.
何かありましたか？
Did something happen?
申し訳ございません。
My apologies.
昨夜の落雷で電話機器に故障が出たようです。
It seems that the telephones are out of order due to last night's lightning.
内線電話が普通になっておりますもので、直接のお伺いになってしまったことをお許しください。
The internal lines have gone dead, so please forgive my coming to see you directly.
内線電話が普通？
The internal lines have gone dead.
それは面倒になりましたね。
That will be troublesome.
修理は可能ですか？
Will it be possible to repair it?
残念ながら故障箇所がわかりません。
I am afraid that we don't know the location of the
後
damage.
で業者を呼んで修理させたいと思います。
I would like to call an expert and have him repair it. But that won't be possible during the typhoon.
ということは、この台風が過ぎるまでは修理不能ということですか？
Which means that we will be unable to repair it until the typhoon has
つ
passed.
まり、客人たちの滞在中はずっと普通ということですね。
In other words, the lines will be out of order for the remainder of our guest's stay.
客人たちのお世話に支障は？
Will there be issues with providing them proper service?
出ないよう最善を尽くします。
We will do all we can to make sure there are none.
結構です。
Very well.
粗相のないようよろしく頼みます。
I will be counting on you to ensure that everything goes smoothly. Natsuhi let out a small sigh of relief. She had been prepared for the worst, but a telephone breakdown wasn't the kind of trouble she was worried about. But then, even this would probably be enough to spark sarcasm from Eva. Natsuhi gave her head a light shake.
朝食の準備は順調ですか？
Are the preparations for breakfast proceeding well? No, they aren't!
それがゴーダの姿が見えません。
about that. We haven't been able to find Goda.
朝食の支度もまだ行われておらず。
The arrangements for breakfasts have yet to be carried out.
なんですって？
What did you say? Natsuhi was indignant. To her, this was a much bigger problem than the phone's not working. Of course it was. Everybody's priorities are very specific. And despite that, this piece of information was the part that had been postponed. Why did everything go well most of the time, then come to something like this when relatives were visiting? Natsuhi placed a hand to her forehead and shook her head sharply.
大方朝寝坊でもしているのでしょう。
Most likely he is
とにか
oversleeping.
く誰でもいいから急いで朝食の準備を。
Anyway, it doesn't matter who does it. Just hurry with preparing breakfast. What? Huh? Hello? Natsuhi had exited into the hall and turned around for a second to close the door to her room. The unpleasant thing that she saw there silenced her completely. What is going on? I'm scared. Hello? What? What? It was an unsettling sight, as if someone had dipped their fingers in a dark red liquid and clawed at the area around the doorknob. What? As though someone had soaked both of their hands in blood and groped at the door and the knob. Wait, obviously Genji could see this, right? Because he was knocking on the door. It's time. Thanks, Yaya. That's not foreboding at all. Oh, God. Like someone had wanted to stage something like that and left this mark as an awful prank. Genji, do you see this shit?
これは何のいたずらですか？
What wicked mischief is
悪
this?
趣味な。
How awful.
私も今ここにお伺いして初めて気づきました。
I also just noticed it as I came to call
後
you.
ほど清掃いたします。
I will clean it later.
大方趣味の悪い客人の冗談でしょう。
Most likely a vulgar joke by one of the guests. She's like, Eva did this.
不愉快です。実に不愉快です。
She's like, Eva did this to me. Disgusting. Truly disgusting. Who in the world would pull such a childish and disgusting prank? Natsuhi had a pretty good idea, but of course there was no proof. So even if she pushed the issue, it would just seem as though she was making a fuss about nothing. On the contrary, it would definitely be better for her to say she hadn't even noticed such a prank that had been played in the first place, unless it's really blood! Natsuhi gave the order to have it cleaned and headed off to the parlor with clacking heels. I'm so scared right now. When Natsuhi and Genji arrived in the parlor, Eva and Hideyoshi were already there.
おはようございます、皆さん。
Good morning, everyone.
おはよう夏日さん。
Morning,
朝
Natsuhi-san.
食も郷田さんが作るっちゅう話やないか。
Oh, and that's the first thing he says, and she's gonna have to disappoint him. I heard Goda-san would be making us breakfast too, isn't that right?
朝から胃袋が大喜びで騒ぎっぱなしなんや。
My stomach's been getting all excited since I woke up. Chapter 1 is so unnerving for the first read. Oh, yeah, I'm sure it's like that with any mystery, right? Like, the second time you read it, you can see where all the puzzle pieces fit into place. But the first time you read it, there's such a, like, impenetrable veil of what you don't know, right? And that makes it really unnerving. My stomach's been getting all excited since I woke up.
本家の楽しみは食事くらいがせいぜいですものね。
Yes, food is about the only thing worth looking forward to here, isn't it? Thanks a lot, Eva. Just starting first thing in the morning, huh?
エヴァさんも朝からご機嫌がよろしいようで何よりです。
You too, Eva-san. I'm pleased to hear that you are well this morning. Natsuhi returned Eva's gaze, which was fiercely competitive even though it was early in the morning, with a weary expression. Then Kanon jogged in. After bowing an apology to the relatives for running inside the mansion, he approached Genji and told him something in a small voice.
Kanon, ゴーダはまだ見つからないのですか?
Kanon, have you still not found Goda?
申し訳ございません、奥様。
My apologies, madam.
お屋敷内もゲストハウスも回ったのですが、まだ。
I went all around the inside of the mansion and the guest house, but still.
一体どこへ行ったというのです?
Where in the world has he
とりあえ
gone?
ず今はゴーダより朝食の準備が先決です。
Yeah, fuck this guy's potential safety. We gotta get breakfast going. For now, breakfast is a higher priority than finding
至急
Goda.
対応しなさい。
Quickly, take care of it.
はい。
Yes. Kanon glanced at Genji. It looked like he had something else to report, but needed to ask Genji whether he was the right person to say it. Genji nodded and decided to give the report himself.
奥様、
Uh-oh. Madam.
ゴーダだけではありません。
What? Did something happen to Kanon? I mean, Shannon? Madam, it is not only Goda.
旦那様の姿もありません。
Kraus? Your husband is also nowhere to be found.
主人が?
My husband?
はい。
Yes.
奥様より先に旦那様に朝食の準備がないことをご報
Kraus!
告しようと思い、寝室をお伺いしたのですが、お
I
姿
thought
がありませんでした。
I thought I would report to him before you about the lack of preparation for breakfast and visited his room, but I did not find him there.
それから旦那様だけではありません。
Furthermore, it was not only he who was missing.
ルドルフ様ご夫妻と
What?
ローザ様のお姿もありません。
What? So all of the adults but Eva and Hideyoshi are missing? What? What happened last night? Furthermore, it was not only he who was missing. Rudolph-sama and his wife, Tokirie too, as well as Rosa-sama, are nowhere to be found.
ゲストハウスにも?
Not even in the guest
屋
house.
敷にもですか?
And not in the mansion.
はい。
Yes. Did you check Kinzo's room? Although there's no way they're all in there.
ゲストハウスの部屋にもおられません。
Nor are they in their rooms in the guest house. When she heard that Goda alone was missing, she had thought that he might have slept in or was loafing around somewhere. But once she heard that several of the relatives were also missing, she began to start thinking a little more optimistically. Last night's family conference might have continued all night and in fact might still be going on. It would then be imaginable that they had wanted to cool off their heads after being in that stuffy room, and had all gone off on a group walk through the rain. The part about cooling off their heads really sounded like something Kraus would like to say. Probably Goda had been called to go with them and aid them with something. Okay, that's pretty solid logical assumption, I guess. Goda was not a man who lost track of time. He had to have understood that if he did not return, the preparations for breakfast would be hindered. So perhaps as much as he'd like to leave, the atmosphere would not permit him to, and the conference was continuing in that manner even this very moment. And yet it would be weird that Eva would not be there, because I feel like Eva would be the one who would like not let the conference end no matter what, right? Yes, Natsuhi thought this to be an extremely persuasive theory. Natsuhi remembered the illusion that she had felt that morning of being sucked into a continuation of the previous night. and upon learning that the feeling wasn't just an illusion, she once again let out a deep, weary breath. Because the banquet of the filthy vultures circling around Kinzo's property was still continuing.
大方、庭園のどこか、あるいは海岸の方で愛も変わらず遺産の話を繰り返しているのでしょう。
Maybe they're out looking for the gold. Most likely, they are still repeating that same discussion about the inheritance somewhere in the garden or maybe the
とに
beach.
かく、ゴーダを呼び戻さなくては。いつまでも朝食の準
In any case, we must call Goda
備が
back,
整いません。
or we will never be able to complete the preparations for
っ
breakfast.
てことはなんや。
So what are you
兄
saying?
さんたちの話し合いはまだ続いとるんか。
Are Nissan and the rest still continue in their discussion? What does Eva think about all this? She had thought that she'd spoken in a small voice, but Hideyoshi had overheard her and managed to grasp the situation.
兄さんもルドルフもタフね。
Nissan and Rudolph sure are tough.
ローザの場合は若さかしら。
And maybe it's just youth in Rosa's case?
私たち、夕べの24時過ぎにはもう眠くてベッドに戻らせてもらったんだけど。
The two of us were so tired that we had to go back to bed just after midnight.
確かにあの時点でも、まだ兄さんたちは熱論を交わしてたわ。
I do remember that Nissan and the rest were still having a heated discussion at that point.
男って熱くなると嫌ね。
Men sure are nasty when they get excited. Natsuhi snorted, her face still blank.
カノン、表を探してらっしゃい。
Kanon, search
ゴー
outside.
ダを見つけたら、すぐに戻って朝食の準備をするよう伝えなさい。
If you find Goda, tell him to return immediately and begin preparations for breakfast.
かしこまりました。
Certainly.
夏日姉さん、表とは限らないわよ。
Natsuhine-san, they aren't necessarily outside,
お
right?
父様の書斎ってことはないかしら。
Yeah, I figured they hadn't checked inside Kinzo's room. Couldn't they also be inside Father's study?
なるほど。考えられん話やないで。
Oh, sure, I could see
どう
that.
いう話の流れかはわからんが、
I don't know what they've been
お父
discussing.
さんの主催に場所を移して、お父さんにも混じってもらって議論を続けてるっちゅう可能性は十分あるや
Oh,
ん。
right, because Kraus kept playing down the situation. He wasn't letting anybody on about how Kinzo was just refusing visitors at all times. They don't know that this is unlikely. Because Kraus was always be like, oh, he's still not feeling well, right? There's also a decent chance that they've moved his father's study and included him in the discussion.
そのような汚らわしい話題を好んで、お父様が書斎へ招き入れることなど考えられません。
I cannot imagine that father would willingly invite that detestable topic into his study.
あらそう。
You really think so?
じゃあ仕方ないわね。
Well, then there's nothing we can
ゲンジさ
do.
んとカノン君は申し訳ないけど、外を探してきてちょうだい。
I'm sorry, Genji-san, Kanon-kun, but could you search
確か
outside?
に兄さんなら、頭を冷やすために外を散歩しようなんて言い出しても不思議はないわ。
I'm sure it wouldn't be odd for Nissan to propose that they go outside for a walk to cool their
た
heads.
とえこんな天気でもね。
Even in this weather.
私はお父様の書斎に行ってくるわ。
Eva, if anything, you should send Genji there. I will go to Father's
ひょ
study.
っとするとそこにいるかもしれないしね。
After all, there's still some chance they'll be there, isn't there?
客人であるエヴァさんにそこまでのご足労はおかけできません。
Eva-san, a guest such as you mustn't trouble herself.
私も行ってきます。
I will
朝
go.
のご挨拶も兼ねて。
I can also tell him good morning.
あら、じゃあお願いするわね。
Really? Then I'm counting on you, all right?
でも朝の挨拶を交わしてくれるかは疑わしいわね。
But I somehow doubt whether he will return your greeting. He wouldn't return it to you either, Eva.
夏日姉さんってお父様とは仲よろしかったかしら？
Natsuhine-san, were you on good terms with father?
仲が良いかは分かりかねますが。
I don't know whether it could be called good
後ろ宮
terms,
家の跡継ぎの妻を許されるだけの信頼を得ていると確信しています。
but I'm certain that I've gained his trust as the wife of the successor to the Ushiromiya family.
ならきっと返事くらいはしてくれるわね。
Then I'm sure that he will at least answer you, won't he?
お父様とは朝食くらいご一緒したいの。
I want to at least eat breakfast with father.
ぜひ降りてきてくださるよ。説得してくれないかしら。
I wonder if you could convince him to come down and join us.
私たちはすっかり嫌われちゃってるみたいだけど、そこまで信頼を得ている夏
Oh my
日
God,
兄さんの言うこ
Eva.
となら聞いてくれそうですもの。
Eva, Jesus Christ. It seems that he thoroughly despises the rest of us, but I'm sure if his trusted Natsuhi asks, he will surely listen.
そこまで短歌を切ってお父様を説
And the
得で
fan
き
is out.
一人で降りてきちゃったりしたら。
Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. If you can't convince father after speaking to me so sharply and have to come down by yourself.
信頼を得ているなんて二度と言えないかもね。
Oh my Jesus Christ, Eva, please, please. It's 6 in the morning. I doubt you'll ever again be able to say that you have gained his trust, will you? I know, oh my god. Eva's voice actor. The bitch levels are off the charts. Yeah.
自信はありませんが、努力はします。
I am not confident, but I will try. Natsuhi responded, discouraged. However, knowing Kinzo's temperament, she had absolutely no confidence in her ability to bring him out. Eva herself was treating it like a joke, expecting that it couldn't be done. But even so, Natsuhi would lose face if she gave up, said it was impossible for her, and let Eva go instead. Eva's mean-spirited and unreasonable demand caused Natsuhi's tightly clenched fist to shake. When Genji realized this, he softly spoke to her over her shoulder.
奥様、
Madam,
よろしければこれをお持ちください。
if you would, please take this.
それは
Is that... Oh, the key to the study, eh? How nice of him. Although Kinzo's probably going to be fucking pissed, but... Genji handed Natsuhi a sparkling gold key of ornate design. It was the key to Kinzo's study. The study would always lock itself and couldn't be unlocked as long as Kinzo forbade entrance. However, since Genji was especially trusted by Kinzo, he was allowed to carry a key to that
でもこ
door.
の鍵を使ったら、あなたも咎めを受けるのではありませんか。
But if this key is used, won't you also receive the blame?
親方様は深くお休みになられている時、扉を叩くくらいではお耳に届かないこと
When the master is sleeping
も
deeply,
ございます。
simple knocking on the door may not reach his ears.
それに親方様にお部屋を出ていただくよう説得するには
And
扉
when
越しでは難しゅうございましょう。
And when persuading the master to leave his room, it would be more difficult if you must talk through the door.
ぜひお使いください。
Please use it.
源氏。
Until now, Natsuhi had thought of Genji as a cold servant who worked directly under Kinzo and would never work for her. But it looked like she would have to alter her understanding of him. Yeah, Genji's the goat. She wanted to communicate her feelings of thanks, but then Genji had already turned his back on her and was walking down the corridor with Kanon. But just as Natsuhi watched them go, the words that reached her from behind were sneering.
じゃあお父様を必ず連れてきてね。
Be sure you bring father with you then, okay? Yeah, but what if it's his cold corpse on the ground then? What then? Is she gonna have to drag his corpse downstairs?
息子のかわいい嫁の言うことですもの。きっと聞いてくれるわよ。
Be sure you bring father with you then, okay? After all, it's his son's darling wife who's asking. I'm sure he'll listen to you. Uh-huh.
私たちは客人だから、ここでのんびりくつろがせてもらうわ。
We are guests, so let us leisurely relax here.
予算かエヴァ、口が過ぎるで。
Quit it, Eva. You're talking too much.
すまんが夏希姉さん、お父さんのことをよろしく頼むわ。
Sorry, but Natsuhine-san, we'll leave father to you. Natsuhi left without replying, at a swift pace, her heels clacking loudly with every step. After all that excitement the previous night, there was no way anyone was going to wake up soon. George, Aniki, Jessica, and I were snoring loudly on the bed in the cousins' room. But Maria, who didn't join in, and who had gone straight to bed the previous night, suddenly and completely opened her eyes. Suddenly, Maria's like... waking up instantly. As she rubbed her sleepy eyes and looked around, the loud snoring coming from the three cousins continued. For a while, Maria had to think about what had happened. After that, she realized that her mother was not with her and quickly got lonely. Whoa! Maria left the cousins' room, trying to head to the room that had been arranged for her and her mother. Maria Nader is activated. Yep. But she wouldn't be there. She wouldn't be there. Paying no heed to the three who were sleeping soundly, she made a loud slamming sound on the way out. In response, Battler mumbled and rolled over in his sleep, but it wasn't enough to wake him up. After a while, Maria returned, once again opening the door with a lively bang, like kicking open the door. Bam! When she had left the room, her face had been sleepy, but after returning, she now looked discontent. After that, she climbed up on Battler's bed, which happened to be the closest, and started yelling and jumping on it like it was a trampoline. Oh boy! Marionator is activated. Wait, what did I push? There we go. Wake up!
うわなんだなんだ
What?
敵襲か
Is it a raid? Is it a raid? I got a raid earlier.
回せ
Surround them! Maria jumped scare. Yeah, Battler starting to talk like his namesake. After making sure that I was awake, Maria jumped over onto George Aniki's bed and started bouncing on that too. In that manner, the three of us were all greeted with an extremely pleasant awakening.
ありがとうマリアちゃん。起こしてくれたんだね。
Thanks, Maria-chan, for waking us up.
僕たちは夕べが遅かったから寝坊しちゃったのを起こしてくれたんだね。
You stopped us from sleeping in after that late night.
でももう少しだけ起こし方を優しくしてくれると完璧だったかな。
But it would have been perfect if you could have been just a little more gentle.
ジョージ兄さんは本当に大人だよ。尊敬するぜ。
George Nissan, you really are an adult. I respect that.
もうすぐ7時なんだな
It's almost 7.
まあ確かにもう起きてもいい頃だぜ
Well, not really a bad time to wake up. Mama's not here!
ローザおばさんが
Auntie Rosa?
部屋にいなかったの
She wasn't in her room.
もう起きてお屋敷の方に行っちゃったのかな。
I wonder if she has already woken up and gone to the mansion. Oh, you had a fun time lurking. Gotta leave now, though. Have fun, everyone. Thank you so much for lurking, Goal. You have a great rest of your night. She's not here! Ooh, Mama! Maria kept groaning, ooh, ooh, and looking unhappy. It seemed like she wasn't simply lonely because she couldn't find her mother, but actually unhappy because her mother wasn't in the place she thought she was, and this made her feel like she'd been tricked. If we could have just told her where her mother was, that might have been enough to satisfy her. But unfortunately, as long as we were here, we had no way of finding that out. It's time to go for breakfast anyway. So let's head over to the mansion.
そうだな。
Good idea.
マリア、一緒に屋敷へ行こうぜ。
Maria, let's go to the mansion together,
き
okay?
っとローザおばさんもそこさ。
I'm sure Auntie Rosa will be over there too.
ママはお屋敷
Mama's in the mansion?
なら行く
Then I'll go. But Rosa's missing!
おう
Then I'll go. Ooh.
そうだね。お屋敷に行こうか。
That's right. Let's go to the
多
mansion.
分親たちはもう向こうに行ってるんだよ。
Our parents have probably already gone there. Maria regained her usual composure, as though her earlier temper had never happened. We got dressed, left the room, and headed for the mansion. The door to the study was once again knocked upon, but there was no answer. He was still sleeping, and she couldn't wake him. If she returned downstairs saying something like that, Eva would be very amused and triumphant. And even aside from the whole Eva issue, there was still the problem that yesterday, during this once-a-year family conference, he had stayed locked up all day and had still not come out to greet the guests. Even though he was the head, no, especially because he was the head, he couldn't fail to make an appearance. Did she convince him? Natsuhi readied herself and, using that key that she had borrowed from Genji, opened the door. Is he dead? Is he dead? A sweet stench that seemed to eat into her brain poured from the narrow opening she had created, and though she was prepared for it, she couldn't help but grimace. Thinking that he might still be sleeping, Natsuhi entered the room quietly. Oh, okay, he's here, When she did, Kinzo, already awake, was looking down out of the window. Oh, I thought for sure he'd be dead. Oh, man.
お目覚めでしたか。
So you're awake.
おはようございます。
Good morning.
どうやって入ったのか。
How did you get in? Kinzo spoke with his back still facing her. His voice was not harsh, but calm, and Natsuhi was slightly reassured. However, he was at least in a bad enough mood that he ignored the sound of all that knocking, even though he had been awake. Natsuhi wasn't able to break the tension.
申し訳ございませんでした。
My sincere
源
apologies.
氏さんにお願いして書斎の鍵をお借りさせていただきました。
I asked Genji-san, and he allowed me to borrow the key to the study.
元気がか。
Oh, Genji did.
我が友がそれに足ると思ったならば、話を聞かぬわけにもいくまい。
Wow, this is the most pleasant we've seen him yet. If my friend thought it was that important, then I have no choice but to listen.
して私に何用か。
Tell me, what business do you have?
はい
Yes.
もうじき朝食の準備が整いますが、ぜひお父様にもおいでいただきたく思いまして。
Breakfast will soon be prepared, and I would greatly appreciate it if you would join us.
朝食はここでとる。
I will eat here.
いつものように運ばせるがいい。
Have it brought here, like always.
しかしお父様、
But father,
年に一度の親族会議です。
this is the annual family conference.
せめてお顔をお見せになってください。
Please, at least let them see your face.
下に降りて。
You ask me to go downstairs.
私の死後、遺産をどのように食いちぎるのかを決める議論に加われというのか。
And join in on the discussion of how my inheritance is to be chewed apart after I die.
バカらしい。
How foolish.
そのような話は私を抜きで好きに進めるがいい。
They can keep talking about that kind of thing as much as they like without me.
そしてそれが親族会議だというなら、私がこの部屋を出るほどの価値はない。
And if that's what you call a family conference, it's nothing so important that I should leave my room for it.
私は忙しいのだ。
I am busy.
構うでない。
Do not bother me. With his last words came the threat that any further questions would be useless. Natsuhi realized that adding any further pleas would finally bring his wrath down upon her. It would be annoying to hear Eva sarcastically say that she hadn't been able to convince him after all, but there was nothing more Natsuhi could do.
そうですか。
Is that so?
わかりました。
Understood.
みんな残念がるでしょうが、そう伝えます。
I am sure that everyone will be sorry to hear it, but I will tell them. Natsuhi decided to give up. I don't know, if I was her, I would have said, well, I mean, we can't find we can't find 3/4 of your children, so if you don't mind just one of them ragging at you, you could at least come down for breakfast until we find the rest. That's the argument I would have made. It's like they can only get into so much fucked up discussion with only one of them there. Bowing silently, she made to leave the room before Kinzo's spasmodic temper could fire up. Spasmodic temper. As she did, Kinzo called out to her. Compared to the usual Kinzo, this voice was calm and gentle, like it came from another person.
夏日、後ろ宮の家に嫁ぎ、もう随分になるな。
Natsuhi, it has been quite some time since you married into the Ushiromiya family.
はい。
Yes.
後ろ宮を名乗ることを許されてから、もう随分になります。
It has been a while since I was first permitted to bear the name Ushiromiya.
前の家が恋しくなることもあるか。
Do you sometimes long for your previous family?
いいえ。
No.
嫁ぐとは、成果を捨てることです。
Marriage means throwing away your parents' family. That's pretty old-fashioned, but okay.
私は後ろ宮夏日。
I am Ushiromiya Natsuhi.
帰る家も懐かしむ家も、すべてはこの後ろ宮の家のみです。
If I have a family to return to, or to reminisce over, it is only the Ushiromiya family. It was definitely not an exaggeration. Such was the level of Natsuhi's resolve in calling herself an Ushiromiya. That was why she was so sorrowful that, despite all of her effort, it had been fruitless, and she was not even accepted by her husband.
クラウスが女で、お前がその夫であったなら。
If Kraus had been a woman, and you had been the husband.
いや、 それは言うまい。
No, I won't say that.
それはどういう意味ですか、お父様。
What do you mean by that, father? Natsuhi was shocked. If Kinzo's words just now had been meant literally, they would have been more than enough to make up for all she had suffered up to that point.
忘れよ。
Forget it.
年寄りのざれ言だ。
It's just the nonsense of an old man. Kinzo once again faced away from her. He had told her to forget it, but Natsuhi couldn't help feeling a warmth in her heart. Finally, Natsuhi gets thrown half of a bone.
お父様、
Father,
この夏日は血はつながらずともお父様の娘です。
even though I am not connected to you by blood, I am still your daughter.
後ろ宮家の名誉も栄光も、そしてお父様が残されたものもすべてこの夏日が必ずや守ってみせます。
Oh, Natsuhi, poor girl. The honor and glory of the Ushinomiya family and everything that you have left. I guarantee you I will see it protected myself.
お前に片翼のわしをまとう資格はない。
You do not have the qualifications to wear the one-winged eagle.
しかし、お前の心には確かに片翼のわしが刻まれている。
However, the one-winged eagle is surely engraved in your heart.
ならばお前は間違いなく我が血族で後宮家の栄光を引き継ぐものだ。
In that case, Natsuhi heads, we won. Yes, she's getting thrown a whole bone now. Damn, this is enough to keep her going for the rest of the game, I bet. In that case, you are unmistakably my blood relative, and one who will inherit the glory of the Ushinomiya family.
お前の衣服にわしがないことを嘲笑う者もいよう。
Some will sneer that there is no eagle on your clothes.
しかし、それに耳を貸すことはない。
However, that's nothing to lend an ear to. Yeah, just ignore Eva. You got recognized by Kinzo, that's enough.
心にわしを持つ者だけが真の私の血族なのだ。
Only those who hold the eagle in their hearts are my true blood relatives.
お前を後宮家に迎えられたことを今は光栄に思っている。
This is so sweet. This is enough to keep her going for like the next 8 years. I now believe it an honor that I was able to welcome you into the Ushinomiya family. Without saying anything more, Kinzo remained with his back to Natsuhi. However, Natsuhi couldn't help but feel something warm well up inside of her that she hadn't felt since long ago, when she had been just a child. Natsuhi bowed silently to his back and left the room.
あら、ちょうどいいタイミングだったわね。
Oh, what perfect timing. Yeah, you can't bring her down now, Eva. She's like floating on cloud 9.
お父様の様子はどう？
How is father?
あんまり遅いから様子を見に来ちゃったのよ。
You were taking so long. I came to check, you see? When Natsuhi left the study, she saw Eva climbing the stairs and their eyes met. Eva was smirking unpleasantly, thinking that Natsuhi had just left the room trudgingly after failing to convince Kinzo. However, the way Natsuhi was now, such a frivolous laugh would not disturb her. I know, exactly. Eva ain't shit right now. She was not permitted to wear the family crest on her clothing, but she was permitted to wear it in her heart. So she spoke calmly, clearly, and confidently, with the dignity of one who would protect the glory of the Ushinomiya family.
お父様は親族会議にはおいでにならないそうです。
Hopium-fueled Natsuhi is unstoppable now. Yes, exactly. Father said that he would not join in on the family
汚らわ
conference.
しい議題に関心はないと仰せです。
He says that he has no interest in such an obscene topic. Yes, excuses.
なんとか言っちゃって。お父様を説得できなかったんなら素直にそう言えばいいじゃない。
If you weren't able to persuade father, say so frankly.
哀れですね。
How pitiful. Ooh, get her ass! Let's go! How
お
pitiful.
父様が嘆かれるお気持ちも分かろうというものです。
I'm beginning to understand father's feelings of regret.
それはどういう意味よ。
Get her! What do you mean by that? Natsuhi did not answer. Oh, mic drop. Snap it. Let's go, Natsuhi. Natsuhi did not answer. Eva Packwatch. Just as Kinzo had done earlier, she showed Eva her back as she headed down the stairs. Oh, yeah! Let's go! Woo! Struggling to gather what had happened, Eva could only determine that she had been made fun of, and that something had happened to quickly bolster Natsuhi's confidence. Even so, she didn't have the courage to risk Kinzo's wrath. Unable to even knock on the door, she could only scratch at the air in front of it, cluck her tongue, and follow after Natsuhi. Oh!
それで兄さんたちはいたの？
Finally, Natsuhi got a point. Score 1 for Natsuhi. So, were Nissan and the rest there? Did father tell you about them?
お父様に聞いたの？聞きそびれましたが、書斎の中にはいませんでした。
I didn't get the chance to ask, but they were not inside the study.
お父様が夫たちの下船な話のために入室を許すこともありえませんから、行き先を知ることもないでしょう。
Father would never let them into his room to discuss such a lowly topic, so it is unlikely that he knows where they went.
下に降りて使用人たちが探してくれるのを待ちましょう。
Let us go downstairs and wait for the servants to return from their search.
朝食は遅れますが、お茶でもいかがです？
Oh my god, look at her! She's glowing! She has none of those, like, tired wrinkles under her eyes. Natsuhi is fucking glowing. Breakfast may be late, but how about some tea, Eva-san?
別に結構よ。
I will be fine. Eva couldn't hide her confusion over the complete difference in Natsuhi's demeanor. She was acting so boldly, and while Eva hated to admit it, she even had a sense of dignity about her. Unable to find fault with anything, she could only follow Natsuhi back to the parlor. Let's go, Natsuhi. All you had to do was be confident. Be proud. When the two of them returned to the parlor, not only Hideyoshi, but the 4 children and Nanjo as well had gathered there. Genji, who had been talking with Hideyoshi, reported the current situation when he noticed that Natsuhi had returned.
主人たちはまだ見つからないのですか？
You still have not found my husband and the rest?
はい。申し訳ございません。
Yes, my apologies.
あと、熊沢が朝食の準備に入りました。
Also, Kumasawa has begun the preparations for
もう
breakfast.
少し時間をいただきたいとのことです。
She said that she will need just a little longer. The clock read a little past 8 a.m. 8 o'clock was the time that breakfast was supposed to have started. The mere fact that the hosts had gone over that time limit was a disgrace under normal circumstances.
今、カノンが表を探しています。
Kanon is now searching
そ
outside.
れから、シャノンの姿も見えません。
Furthermore, no one has seen Shannon. I had a feeling Shannon might be missing. Oh no.
シャノンまで？
Even Shannon.
まったく、 主人は何人を従えて散歩に出かけたのですか？
Honestly, how many people has my husband taken on this walk of his? I mean, as far as I know, that accounts for everybody, right? How many people couldn't be found? With the number of people having grown so large, it was starting to feel truly unpleasant, as though they were the only ones being left out on something interesting. At the very least, it looked like the children, no, Maria especially, felt the same way. She was indignant, her stomach grumbling, almost as though her mother and the others had left her alone to go off and eat something delicious without her. Trying to fix her bad mood, the other children were flipping through the channels on the television, trying to find a program that might interest Maria. Nanjo was sitting on the sofa, gazing blissfully at the children while reading a book. He's like, oh, those kids, while Maria's like, rah! No doubt it was a book about chess. The sound of footsteps came rushing towards them with a pitter-patter. Kanon? There was only one set, so they realized before they saw that the source was not Kraus and the rest, but probably Kanon.
奥様、失礼します。
Madam, excuse me.
その様子では見つけられなかったようです。
Judging by your appearance, you still haven't been able to find them.
申し訳ございません。
My apologies.
まだ
I still...
もう十分です。
That will be
ご
enough.
苦労をかけました。
You've worked hard. Oh, good job, Natsuhi, even treating the servants with respect. She didn't know where they were, but they had to be somewhere on this island. They hadn't put anything in their mouths since last night, so their stomachs must be growling about now. They would surely saunter in any time now. Natsuhi was already dumbfounded, and she had begun to think that there was no urgent need to find them right then.
私はお客様方にお茶のご用意をしに厨房へ行きます。
I will go to the kitchen to prepare some tea for all of the
二人
guests.
とも早朝からご苦労様でした。
Thanks to both of you for all of your hard work so early in the morning. Oh, you're late! Natsuhi acting as though the release in tension had caused a new surge in her headache. Oh, she's pretending she has a headache. She's like, I'm gonna act like the baddest bitch, and then she's like, oh, I still have a headache. We're still kind of normal. See, it's all right. We're having Natsuhi comeback era. Natsuhi has gotten enough praise from Kinzo to keep her going for the next 10 years. She got thrown a bone at last. Natsuhi comeback era. We love to see it. Okay, so Natsuhi left the parlor. Kanon tried to call her as she left, but Natsuhi departed swiftly.
どうした？
What is it?
まだ何かあるのか？
Was there something else?
はい。
Yes.
旦那様方のお姿を見つけることはできませんでしたが、
I was unable to find her husband or anyone else, but Kanon sounded evasive. He still didn't know where they were, but maybe he had found something with some relation to that. When Eva and Hideyoshi noticed this exchange of words, they came over. They had probably noticed the slightly strange way Kanon was acting.
どうしたんや、カノン君。
What's going on,
クラウ
Kanon-kun?
ス兄さんたちは見つかったんか？
Did you find Kraus Nissan and the
実
others?
は
Actually,
バラ庭園の倉庫の様子がおかしいのです。
something looked odd about the Rose Garden storehouse.
様子がおかしいというのはどういう意味だ？
Something looked odd? What do you mean by that?
それが、その、
It was,
何と説明すればいいのか。
how should I explain it? Kanon once again hesitated. He wasn't speaking anything like you'd expect from the usually fearless Kanon. Eva and Hideyoshi exchanged quizzical looks at this
ど
display.
ういうこと？
What do you
倉
mean?
庫の中に兄さんたちがいたんじゃないの？
You don't mean to say they're inside the storehouse.
中はこれから調べます。
No, I'm going to inspect the inside now.
その鍵を取りに戻ったところなのですが、
I was just returning to get the key, but
その、
ようわからんが、とにかく中を調べればいいだけの話やないか。
I don't really get it, but it just sounds like we gotta investigate inside,
そ
right?
の倉庫の鍵はどこにあるんや？
Where's the key to that storehouse?
使用人室にあります。
It is in the servant
すぐ
room.
に中を確かめましょう。
Let us check inside the storehouse immediately. Kanon dashed off to the servant room and returned with the key. Genji left the parlor, saying that he would go check, but Eva and Hideyoshi also followed. What was this something odd about the storehouse that had caused the usually fearless Kanon to hesitate? It was still pouring outside, but their curiosity over this something that Kanon couldn't talk about won out. While the children made a big fuss watching television, Kanon and the rest dashed off to the entrance. The Rose Garden storehouse was a place that housed various tools used to manage the garden. It was definitely not a pretty building. Because of its appearance, it had been built hidden in a corner of the Rose Garden. Kanon, Genji, Eva, and Hideyoshi came cutting across the Rose Garden holding umbrellas. They entered a small path just off the Rose Garden, which was not used by those simply appreciating the Rose Garden, but only by those maintaining it. As they dashed further along it, the front of the storehouse came into view. It was a very old shed of a storehouse, and compared to the flawlessly perfect beauty of the Rose Garden, it was pretty seedy looking. It was easy to understand why it had been built in a hard-to-see place. Eva and Hideyoshi arrived at the storehouse long after Kanon and Genji.
Kanon-kun tachi wa hayai na.
You two sure are fast.
Washi wa shindou ga bakuhatsu shishou ya.
I thought my heart was gonna explode. I guess they did build a storehouse over here. But what is that? Maybe this is what Kanon was kind of acting weird about. When Eva looked at where Kanon was pointing, she was at a loss for words. It's time. Thanks. Oh God. Noticing this, Hideyoshi also followed Kanon's finger and was likewise too shocked to speak. The entrance to the storehouse was a kind of shutter. And everyone there now understood why Kanon had been unable to find words that could describe what he saw. On the shutter, which was completely filthy from being exposed to wind and rain for so long, plastered on it, oh great! A bloody magic circle. Okay. Something that looked like a strange dark red liquid? Mucus? Or maybe it was some sticky paint? Some kind of ghastly substance had been used to draw an indescribably eerie shape. This kind of cross-shaped magic circle. The rain had caused it to drip down in several places like fresh blood leaking from an open wound. Viscous. There was no longer any point in being choosy with words. A ghastly, dark red substance meant to look like blood had been used to draw some kind of figure or mark, intended to suggest something ominous. Yeah, and then there was the blood, like the also red stains all over Natsuhi's doorknob. 2 concentric circles were drawn there, and inside them was a design that looked like a cross. The 4 ends of the cross were widely exaggerated, and it looked like some kind of crest from somewhere around Europe. And the cracks between those shapes, written closely together, were some unfamiliar characters, or possibly symbols. What a vulgar bit of graffiti. Could this be one of those? One of those magic circles used in demonic rituals? With reference to this ghastly shape written with a deep red dripping substance, Hideyoshi's comparison was not unreasonable.
いつ書かれたの？
When was this drawn?
昨日雨が降り出す前にここに来ましたが、その時には何も書かれてませんでした。
Last night, I came here before it started raining, but there was nothing drawn here at that time.
他の方々の目に触れる前に何とかしよう。
We must do something before anyone else sees this.
ご覧になられたらご不快になられるだろう。
If they laid eyes upon it, it would cause them great discomfort.
そうね。
It was a Rakugaki. Somebody Rakugaki this all over the over the shutter. That's right.
ただの倉庫小屋とはいえ、こんな気持ち悪い落書きを1秒たりとも放置したくないわ。
Even though it's just a shed, I don't want to leave such an unpleasant scribble untouched for even 1 second.
倉庫の中に塗料もあります。
There is some paint inside the
応急処
storehouse.
置でとりあえず塗り消して後日天気のいい日に改めて塗装しましょう。
Well, let's paint over it temporarily as an emergency measure, then repaint it again someday when the weather is good. Genji remembered that he had just recently seen another piece of graffiti, and that it too had been made with a strange dark red substance of the same color as this, yes, on the doorknob of Natsuhi's room that she sleeps in separately from her husband. That must have been... That's right, he had seen it on the door to Natsuhi's room.
カノン君、さっさとこの落書きを消して戻りましょう。
Kanon-kun, let's remove this graffiti quickly and return,
た
alright?
とえ倉庫とはいえ、実家の落書きは本当に腹立たし
Even though it's just a storehouse.
いわ。
It's really irritating to have graffiti around the home I was brought up in.
はい、
Yes,
すぐに済ませますので。
I will take care of it immediately. Kanon squatted in front of the shutter and unlocked it. He then lifted it up with all of his strength. Oh, is there something fucked up inside? A boisterous noise resounded, and the eerie shape drawn on the shutter began to get sucked in through the top as the shutter was raised. At least for the time being, that ominous thing disappeared from their direct gaze, and they all breathed a sigh of relief. But... Ah! God damn it! They gotta move over as soon as they open the shutter and see what's inside. Thanks a lot, game. This game keeps stringing us along. God, we know the shoe's gotta drop sometime. Okay. My cat is staring at me because it's past time for her to be fed, but I was so sucked up in this that I was like ignoring her. So I'm gonna take a break right as this cliffhanger, and I'll be back soon. Stella mandated break. Yes, you guys get to hear this calming rain right before things get worse. I'll be right back. All right, I'm back. Thank you for your patience. I hope you've been enjoying the Umineko ASMR. All right. So yay, Maria's feeling better. Thanks to a kids program that they had come across, Maria was feeling much better. Battler and Jessica were making fun of the kids program at every turn, cackling. They're watching Teletubbies. No, I'm just kidding. George was enjoying the program along with Maria. Nanjo sat on a sofa by himself, passing the time by reading quietly. They heard hurried footsteps coming from the hallway. They were footsteps from a single person. That mean that it wasn't the group of 4 that had just left? Genji was the one who had returned. It was very rare for Genji, who considered being out of breath a violation of a servant's virtues, to be gasping for air. Oh god! What is it? He had probably come dashing back from outside the mansion. His shoulders were soaking wet, and he didn't have his usual smart appearance. Genji? When Genji noticed Nanjo looking at him, he gave a small, silent bow and quickly approached him.
Nanjo-sensei, 申し訳ございません。
Dr. Nanjo, my apologies.
至急お越しください。
Please come with me, quickly. Getting the doctor. It's happening. Oh no!
何事ですかな?
What has happened? As Genji whispered something into Nanjo's ear, Nanjo's face changed color. God, this is the most slow drip fucking murder mystery start I've ever